What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. No Phil, but there is a Steve Palazzolo from Pro Football Focus. Hi, Stevie.
Hey, how's it going?
Tremendous. Now, Phil's not here. They had a blessed event last week, and he is still taking care of that business along with everybody else. All hands on deck, I'm sure, now that there's 3 Tiny Perrys. But in the spirit of Phil, I know. Go ahead. You want to congratulate?
Hey, congratulations, Phil. Didn't realize. That's great.
Yeah.
It's almost 4. Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you mean? 3 as he's got 3 kids, it's almost 4 kids?
Yeah. Is that right? Is that
you have 4?
I have 4, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
How old?
7, 6, 4, and 2. It's all single digits there, man. Yeah.
Boys or girls?
All boys, man. All boys.
Wow.
A lot of energy over here. A lot of energy.
Wow. And Mrs. Palazzolo is not on the premises right now. Steve warned me, so we could have cameos.
They're trying to barge in behind the door right now.
Doesn't bother me. Oh, are they circling?
No, they're doing great.
Like little wolves?
They're doing great. Yeah, watching a movie downstairs. 7-year-old's in charge, so it's perfect.
Oh, see, it's great when you can assign because he'll take it seriously. Next thing you know, he's Billy Club out on the other 3. So in tribute to Phil, who is our draft maven, we handed the baton to him years ago, and he's run with it. I wanted to get into the draft now that free agency has settled a bit. And the reason I want to get into the draft is, as I was doodling around, I looked at Pro Football Focus, and there was a mock draft by Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo, and had their picks up here. And Phil's done a number of them. But I find this, the more I look at it and the more I looked at your mock draft, the more I'm realizing, holy crap, the Patriots are in a fantastic position. You have, along with Sam, Carolina taking Bryce Young, Houston taking Anthony Richardson, the Raiders taking C.J. Stroud, and the Colts taking Will Levis with the first 4 picks. So ostensibly, since the Patriots don't need a quarterback, they're in line to pick 10th for non-quarterbacks. It's a great spot.
It really is. I mean, we'll see if that's how it plays out. I think every year it's like, hey, of course the quarterbacks are all going to go top 10. I do believe that will be the case this year. I'm a little bit lower on Will Levis. Maybe he drops and a team like Tampa Bay ends up getting him at some point. But yeah, you are probably going to see 4 quarterbacks go, and then the Patriots are in that top. They'll get one of their top, realistically, maybe one of their top 5 players, because everybody's boards are different and all that stuff. So they're going to have somebody really highly ranked that they would be comfortable taking at, say, 7 or 8 if they had the pick, and they'll have that option of taking them, much lower. So yeah, they're in a good spot. I think the way the board's going to fall. And
you have the Patriots taking Joey Porter. Was that your pick or was that Sam's?
I encouraged Joey Porter. We tried to collaborate on these picks and play a little draft room and everything, but I went Joey Porter Jr. because I think he's potentially the best man coverage corner in this draft. He's 6'2", he's really long and physical, better at man than zone. And I know the Patriots have pivoted their defense a little bit over the last couple of years, but it's still hard for me to forget when they went back to being a press man type of team with Aqib Talib back in 2012. When as soon as they traded for him, things changed. And then they went from Talib to Darrelle Revis, and they bring in Gilmore a couple of years later. And I think that's when that defense has operated best. Plus the flexibility of being able to go back from man to zone and game plan it up and all that fun stuff. I think Joey Porter might be the best guy to be able to create that defensive system that Belichick has had so much success with.
And a lot of it revolves around being able to do that with one player, especially when the guys that you mentioned are all 6'1" and above. Although Revis might not have been. Regardless, he was a bigger corner. Didn't matter. Yeah. I mean, the 2 players who would be intermixed at that position, who were very good corners, were J.C. Jackson and Malcolm Butler, both smaller ball hawk types, not shutdown types, almost invited throws their way. Whereas Gilmore, Revis, Talib were erasers. Do you see him as being the best eraser in the draft? Joey Porter.
Yeah, I think the corner group is interesting. I don't think anybody's as good as Sauce Gardner last year, and we'll see what Derek Stingley ends up becoming. But those guys went 3 and 4 last year. I don't think any team's looking at this group of corners, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon or Joey Porter or some of the other corners, and saying, hey, these guys are top 5. I really want them that high. Maybe Devin Witherspoon is the best. We'll see. But there's always that potential. Corner's one of those positions I'm like less confident about because you should be less confident about it. It's unless you have Jalen Ramsey, Patrick Peterson, Sauce. Those guys looked like clear-cut stars. Beyond that, it's a little hit or miss to figure out exactly what you're going to get. But I think Porter has all the traits to become that type of guy and in the traits to take out some bigger receivers and just do a really nice job in press man coverage. And so I think he definitely has that type of potential.
So you actually have Porter, the third corner, coming off the board after Gonzalez and Devon Witherspoon from Illinois. What do those guys have to offer? Say somebody else takes Joey Porter and those guys drop.
Yeah, Witherspoon might be my favorite player in the draft. That dude just flies around. I mean, favorite just like to watch, maybe not the best, but he just is tenacious. He's got this one play where he breaks up a swing pass from an outside corner position and looks like an absolute missile and just destroys the running back. I mean, it was incredible. The guy flies around the field. So Witherspoon from Illinois, I love the way he plays. I think a lot of people are going to love it. Like, you know how Dan Campbell is, hey, we're going to bite kneecaps and all that stuff. A lot of people are putting him at number 6 to Detroit because they're like, of course he's going to want Devin Witherspoon. So that's the type of player he is. The only question with Witherspoon, it's really only 1 year of production out of Illinois. So is that a little bit of a risk? I think there's some risk involved there. And then Gonzalez from Oregon, not even 21 years old yet. He has the size and really smooth movement skills to play press man. So similar as in, hey, he'll play press man the way a Joey Porter might, but he might do it differently where Porter's long arms can get hands on. But I think Gonzalez is really good at just mirroring and just being in the receiver's back pocket and making life difficult as far as completing passes goes.
That's interesting because, you know, there's the speed and the size in the AFC East the Patriots have to address. And we know, both of us, that the Patriots always are cognizant of who they're playing, who they have to deal with. The Patriots have to deal with quicker, smaller guys. First, Stephon Diggs, think of, he's bigger. But then with Miami, you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill that you're going to be dealing with. And then in New York, you have who's the kid from Ohio State? Name's escaping.
Garrett Wilson. Yeah,
Garrett Wilson from last year, the 10th overall pick. So who would be the best guy if Bill's saying, look, I need an antidote to these types of players?
Yeah, that's a good question. That one might be Witherspoon. You know, I think Witherspoon's overall movement skills and Gonzalez could do it too. He's a little bit bigger, I think, just a little thicker, I would say, than Witherspoon. So Witherspoon probably has the quicks to deal with those guys. I think it's great that they brought Jonathan Jones back, on a decent contract, because obviously they've used him on a lot of the speed receivers. So that's what's interesting about if Belichick does want to go back to playing man. You mentioned earlier, he had different types, right? He had different types of corners. I always talk about receivers. You want to build a basketball team. Well, then you have to defend the basketball team. So when they had Darrelle Revis, they had Brandon Browner, who's 6'3", right? Like you had different types to handle the different types of receivers. So that'll be interesting if they're looking for another type like a Jonathan Jones, or if they do want to get a bigger, longer corner like a Joey Porter Jr. just to be able to mix it up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They re-signed Jalen Mills, or actually extended Jalen Mills, came to some kind of accord on whatever was bothering him about the contract, probably too big. But he's coming back and he is a bigger corner. So there was a void there earlier in the week that obviously has been filled with Mills definitely coming back. So they need bigger guys because Jack Jones, Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, all the Jones boys are a little bit height challenged. So Jalen Mills is their biggest corner now. Bill likes him big. He likes the Gilmore. I think Gilmore would probably in some ways be his prototype for, especially when you consider how much money he spent on the guy and when he did it right away.
Yeah.
I think that Gilmore is his prototype for that's the kind of corner you need right now. You also have, and the Patriots are at the Ohio State Pro Day this week. They had 5 coaches there, offensive line and wide receiver coach were represented by the Patriots. You have going just before the Patriots select Jackson Smith and Jigba and Paris Johnson, both from Ohio State, going 11 and 13. What will the Patriots be missing if they don't get those guys? How great would it be for them, or how great, or what kind of positives would there be for them if either one fell to them?
Yeah, so starting with Paris Johnson, he moved from guard to tackle this year. I think he's kind of your prototype at tackle, really tall, long, smooth mover, all that fun stuff. He's probably the best pure tackle because Peter Skoronski from Northwestern has teeny little arms, Tom, and the NFL doesn't like that. The T-Rex arms, they don't like that at all. Tackle. So Skoronski's going to be a guard on a whole bunch of boards, even though he could probably play tackle. So Paris Johnson might be your best pure tackle in the draft. And we know that the Patriots not only like to fill that immediate need because he could step in and play, and maybe you don't need to rely on a Riley Reef this year.
Right.
But it's more that multi-year need, right? They drafted a Nate Solder a year early before they needed him. So that is a common Patriots play there. So I think if Paris Johnson is available, that makes a lot of sense for the Patriots. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's my favorite receiver in the draft, but I think receivers are always about what you're looking for, right? I mean, he is he played in the slot because of Garrett Wilson, who's with the Jets, because of Chris Olave, who's with the Saints. So Smith and Jigba is an outstanding route runner. There are some Juju Smith-Schuster type of traits where it's like he's a slot guy that could be kind of a vertical threat, good route runner. But I think Smith and Jigba, he didn't run great at the pro day.
Remember, like 4.56 was it what? 4.56?
Yeah, I think it was low 4.5, low to mid 4.5s. I think that's okay because he's not going to be a deep threat necessarily. You want to see faster, but I think he's going to be your crafty route runner that can work the middle of the field. So again, it's all about where do you fit that piece into your puzzle. I think for New England, that might not be the piece that they need. I mean, I think they do need the alpha outside receiver, which I don't know if Smith and Jigba is that guy necessarily, but he's just a really good all-around receiver. And I think some teams will covet him as the top guy and other teams will have him a little bit lower on the board.
Quentin Johnson goes 12, so really close to the Patriots as well. Phil has mocked him to the Patriots as well. TCU?
Yeah.
So he's your three top wideout, right?
Yeah, I mean, so we have some internal debate on him. There's some people at PFF that really love him and some that, I don't love him overall. But again, receiver is just an interesting position. I know, hey, N'Keal Harry didn't work out and you didn't actually find a role for him. But receiver is different than other positions because if you have weaknesses, teams can work around those. You could be a number 2 wide receiver and still be a worthwhile number 1 pick. That's what I think of with Quentin Johnston. He has this size and speed that you have to account for. It doesn't always show up on tape. For a guy that is as big as he is, he doesn't always win at the catch point. He wins sometimes, but he's not an absolute monster at the catch point. He's not a DeAndre Hopkins who will win 60% of his contested catches. He's about half that in college. But I think there's something to Quentin Johnston's skill set. Again, it depends on your current makeup of your receiver room and building that basketball team, adding the size, adding the speed that New England doesn't really have, right? They don't really have speed threats. They have size with Devontae Parker, but they don't have speed threat other than Tyquan Thornton. They don't have that combo in one player. That's where Quentin Johnston might add a little bit that they don't have if they go that route.
And Tyquan Thornton, I'm glad you brought him up because he's a player that I look at as people are dismissive of his potency to be that outside wide receiver. And I think it's because he was undervalued coming in, or at least the Patriots highly valued him compared to other teams. So they take him in the second round, but he runs like an absolute elk. Are elks fast? Gazelle. Let's go with
I think
Gazelle.
so. Yeah.
All of them are faster than humans. You could either say, well, why do we want to spend a first round pick on a wideout? We just did it last year with Tyquan Thornton. Or you can say, well, shit, why don't we marry up Tyquan Thornton with Jackson Smith and Jigba or Quentin Johnson or flavor of the group at wide receiver after that, because I know there's some other good wideouts that you have listed. So why not do that? And you have a core to grow with Mac, who are also on their rookie contracts. If you
go ahead.
No, I just think the way the league is going, you need two fast guys. And the Patriots, I keep saying it, and I'm starting to move off my spot. If you can't have a great white, then it's okay if you have piranhas. And I think their group with Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton, Juju, Hunter Henry, and Gesicki, you have 6 pass catchers. who can get you, what the hell are they usually 350 receptions over the course of a year? 6 guys, everybody catches 60, you're happy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's great to have the great white. I think the impact is easy to measure, right? We saw it with Tyreek Hill. We saw it with AJ Brown last year. We didn't see it with Devontae Adams in Vegas, but we saw it in Green Bay, right? Losing him, we saw. So like having that true alpha wide receiver
on the fall off.
Yeah. Because I've had people say, "Oh, Devontae Adams didn't work." I said, "Well, what about the Packers?"
Well, look at I've made this point a few times on Tyreek. He was phenomenal. The team went from 9-8 to 9-8, and Kansas City still won the Super Bowl.
Oh, I meant to call you out on that. I meant to call you out.
Okay, good. Bring it, because I know there's fine print here.
The quarterback got hurt. That's why. I mean, Miami was they were clearly a better team last year when the quarterback was healthy, right?
Okay, and so my point is, and again, this, I might be overly conservative. I think I am. I think I have Stockholm syndrome from watching the Patriots over all these years. And anybody mentions a good player, I'm like, wow, too expensive. Who needs that? And I think that I think that has grown from watching the Patriots do more with less over the course of time. And I look at the Tyreek Hill thing, and like, okay, go ahead and spend, $30 million a year on a wideout, but if your quarterback gets hurt, then you're hosed. So then you're just throwing money down the drain in cap space. And I think that as I continue to look at it and realize that so much of the Patriots' success wasn't tied to not spending on players, it was tied to Tom Brady taking less so that they could spend more on the middle class and have a better group. And Tom Brady just flat being there every fucking week. I've had some swearing complaints lately. So whoever sent that in, I appreciate you. Sorry.
Cheers.
Be cognizant. Him being there every week lifted the boats.
Yes.
So maybe I should worry less about how much they're spending personally.
I don't even know if it's Brady in the
I'm
money
running around.
It's just,
I'm basically running around turning off the lights, Steve. We're wasting energy. Sorry, I interrupted. Also,
no, that's very relatable. I literally had every light in my house on at one point yesterday. It was amazing. I think we set a world record, but I shut them all off. So Tom Brady absolutely was the thing, right? Like when Brady left town and the Patriots didn't go get a quarterback and they just traded down and they just drafted Kyle Duggar, right? And it was like business as usual, right?
Yes.
And business as usual in New England worked for 20 years. Because when they had a bad offseason, they were still going to the AFC Championship because it was Tom Brady. It was absolutely Tom Brady. And now the rest of the NFL is saying, when I have a rookie contract quarterback, right, when you don't have one of those needle-moving elite quarterbacks, there's a point where the rest of the quarterbacks are the same guy, production-wise. They're all the same guy. And the next thing that moves the needle is a receiver. Right. And I know this isn't fantasy football or anything. And I know that the Patriots won Super Bowls with David Patton. Like, I get it. 25 years ago. So it's a different world. The next thing that moves the needle is pass catchers, whether it is some of the parts like you're saying, Tom, or whether it is you slot in one guy and move everybody down a notch. And then all of a sudden it's like, how do you defend that? Right. Mm-hmm. You're trying to create a world where the defense struggles to defend your offense. And you start by, I got to figure out how to cover AJ Brown in Philadelphia. And then, oh, by the way, Devontae Smith is really good. And the tight end is really good. And the quarterback can run. And the offensive line is good. And that's how the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl. So what the Dolphins did with Tyreek Hill, it didn't work necessarily, but it did, right? They had a better offense. They upped their ability to make a playoff run. They did it, right? They had some injuries. Some stuff happened. You still have to beat the Bills and better teams. But that is their only chance. It's their only chance. And New England's only chance right now to compete with the Bills, the Dolphins, and Aaron Rodgers' Jets is to create an offense that the defense says, oh no, who do I cover? Not stop the run, who do I cover, right? And so that's how you win in today's NFL. When you don't have Tom Brady, you got to have guys that you can't cover. And that's what makes Mac Jones. The stats will look great for Mac Jones if you have guys that you can't cover.
Do you think they have the right guy in Mac Jones to be that supercomputer behind the line of scrimmage and take advantage of those? There's going to be limitations when the ball comes out of his hand. I don't care how much people want to insist that his arm is fine, no problem. There are limitations to the velocity on outside throws when he does not have a good platform. He's probably bottom 5 or 6, and that might even be generous. When he strides, when he steps, he can throw it hard. Bill Belichick basically acknowledged at the end of the year, he doesn't have the arm to throw it 50 yards into the end zone. That's an overstatement, I think, by Bill in the Las Vegas game when he said he couldn't reach. Because certainly Steve, having been a professional baseball player, you could probably still hit it from 50. And look at you get 4 little boys running around, sapping your energy. But can Mac be that sprinkler that turns into a latter-day Brady? Not Brady, but a latter-day Brady, and do it in a way that Jalen Hurts won't do it, or Lamar Jackson won't do it, or even Tua won't do it, because I just don't think Tua's less accurate by a far sight, and he's probably got just about the same arm than Mac Jones. That's why I think Mac Jones is better than Tua. Go ahead, your ball.
Yeah, I mean, Tua might not be as accurate as Mac Jones, but if you look at, say, completion percentage beyond 10 yards last year, Tua was number 1. And that's not the indication of accuracy, but it's saying when you have those pieces, the completions are there to make, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. Like chicken or the egg.
Yeah. The further you get down the field, the more the receiver dictates your success or your statistical success, we'll say.
Because the ball's in the air longer, so your accuracy doesn't matter as much because he can adjust.
Correct. Or you're just wide open. Either one, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Here they come. So
bring him in.
I think Mac can be that guy, but I think he could also be that guy where a few teams in the league have a quarterback where they've had success with, even went to Super Bowls, and then at some point they were like, really want better than that. I need to make a different move, right? The Rams did it with Jared Goff, made a Super Bowl, won a lot of games, and then said, nope, we need better. The Niners did it with Jimmy Garoppolo, made it to a Super Bowl. He won a ton of games for them. He was injured a lot. They said, no, we need better. We're trading up to number 3. So a lot of teams are the Raiders just did it with Derek Carr. They've made the playoffs with him. He looked like the next top 8 quarterback, and then he regressed, right? So I still think Mac Jones is going to be quarterback 10 through 20 in any given year. Latter-day Brady, I don't even think is fair to Mac Jones, because latter-day Brady, other than last year, was still elite, was still a stud, was still able to throw the ball 60 yards and all sorts of stuff.
I mean latter-day Brady as in knockoff. Dollar store Brady.
Yeah.
Same style.
Same stuff.
Every single measurable and metric in terms of arm strength, accuracy, stature, less than. But be that as it may, we've gone a little bit away from the draft, which I don't care about. So is DeAndre Hopkins the silver bullet? Would you make that move? Or would you say, shit, man, OBJ might be the guy? Or would you say, go get Jerry Jeudy? Because I think, to me, I've come around on DeAndre Hopkins, but that's a Band-Aid. That's a last piece.
Yeah.
To me. I don't know. What do you think?
Hopkins might be too much money. Again, not because it's our money that we're spending, but because it does limit other things. Judy's interesting because you get 2 more years of rookie contract, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins. That's the tricky part. I mean, I think T. Higgins, if you could pry T. Higgins from Cincinnati, and we discussed this on our podcast yesterday because we're in Cincinnati, Bengals fans will not let you pry T. Higgins from their dead cold fingers. However, Bengals fans need to consider he's going to be tough to pay, along with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow in a couple of years. Would you give up pick 14 for T. Higgins? I might do that if I'm New England and he's my 1, and then Kendrick Bourne and Juju and Tyquan Thornton as my 4. Just go run deep, run an over route, run deep, and just have some gravity for the safety in the corner to open things up. Now we're talking, right? I think that could work. T. Higgins, to me, is most intriguing versus, say, a Jerry Jeudy or even a DeAndre Hopkins at this point in his career for that type of price tag.
If the Patriots add, for instance, Devon Witherspoon or Joey Porter Jr. and either OBJ, DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not going to say Jeudy because you're going to have to give something up. You might have to give up the And 14th might be a lot. You don't have to give up. Well, already
They'll
people
want it.
already people aren't doing the first round pick. Anyway, if you add one of those guys via trade and you draft Witherspoon or Joey Porter Jr., and you've brought in Gesicki, gone 50-50 with Jacoby Myers and Juju Smith-Schuster, and added Bill O'Brien, will the Patriots win the Super Bowl?
Probably not.
How good will they be? How good will they be then?
I mean, they'll be much more competitive. I think that it certainly helps. I mean, it's tough because you're stacked up against the Bills and probably Aaron Rodgers' Jets now, and
the Bills are in retreat.
Their retreat is still pretty good, right? I mean, New England's retreat in 2013 and 2006 and 2009 was still AFC Championship worthy, So the Bills' retreat is still really, really good. They still have one of the best rosters in the NFL just because they lost in the divisional round. Don't play that game, Tom. We saw that in New England work the other way. Right?
I love this division right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's fun. They'll be much more competitive. It is crazy how competitive the AFC is, though, compared to the NFC. It is crazy right now.
It's like the being an old baseball guy. It's like the National League over the American League when we were kids. Every year, just getting your ass beat in the All-Star game. When the All-Star game.
When you were a kid, Tom. When I was a kid, we turned it around. The American League. We turned it around, man.
I mean, the high point for us was seeing Freddie Lynn hit a grand slam off of Atlee Hammaker
back in '83.
You remember? No, you don't.
I knew that it happened. I was one. I don't remember it. I just know that it happened.
I was such an All-Star game addict.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I couldn't wait for the All-Star game. John Candelaria starting for the National League. Candyman, you name it.
That's the good stuff.
Lee Mazzilli with a home run. Anyway. All right, Dr. Palazzolo, this was fantastic. Really, really, really enjoyed this. Can we get you back? I know how friggin' busy it gets for you.
No, anytime, man. Anything for you, Tom. Love you guys. So
you're the best.
Anything for you guys.
All right. Send something nice out to Phil and the family, will you please?
Oh, yeah, we'll do. I'll send them some baby clothes.
All right. And go get back to the Savages. What are their names? Do you mind? Should we share that over the air?
Yeah. Harry, Teddy, Benny, and Toby.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've said this before. Toby is an awesome name. Toby Palazzolo. Oh, yeah. He is a first baseman power hitter. What do you want him to play? Athlete. What would you like them to play, ideally? I don't know. Clarinet is fine. You can do whatever you want.
Whatever they want. I'm playing that game. I could train them all to be major league pitchers, but I'm not gonna do it. Whatever they want.
Of course. But it'd be pretty fun if they were baseball or basketball. Did you ever play basketball? You had to.
I did, yeah. North Reading High, man. But
were you a problem?
Baseball and basketball for me. I was okay.
You should have been
just
better.
Okay. I should have been way better. I was soft, a little skinny, soft in high school, but
how much did you now, folks, as you can tell, Steve's not a small man. You're 6'10"?
6'10", yeah.
6'10". So at 6'10", how much did you weigh in high school?
Oh, I think I was like 6'7", about 200 pounds.
Oh, that's a big kid.
No, I mean, maybe I was 1.8. I mean, I was super skinny. I'm guessing. I don't remember weighing myself, but I gained about 40 pounds my first 2 years of college. I know that.
I was 106 pounds as a freshman playing friggin' football for Silver Lake. Tommy Curran, you got a lot of spirit. We got to get some
gritty.
We got to get some ends.
Love it.
All right. We're going to call it a day. Steve, thanks so much. This was a blast.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon.